The American public, for instance, has never voted for a politician who seems more intelligent than the average. That's how to predict elections. All my life, my adult life, I've been right about it. I've always predicted who was going to be elected president, and I never knew how I did it. I never could quite reconstruct the process that my brain went through in getting this conclusion: Bush is going to win. I wrote Bush is going to win to a friend in Oakland when Dukakis was 17 points ahead, for instance. And gradually it's dawned on me in the last couple of months how I do it. There were points I thought it must be some kind of ESP. Oh, wow, I've got ESP. But I gradually realized it's the one who wins is the one who seems, who gives the impression, whether it's real or not, who gives the impression of having the intelligence of the average voter. Those whose speeches are information-rich, who suggest that they have more intelligence than the average, always lose. That's why Ronald Reagan got the biggest landslide victory in American political history. You couldn't find anybody in the country who felt intellectually inferior to Ronald Reagan. You could go to a home for the feeble-minded and ask them, and they'd say, oh yeah, we like Ronnie, he's a regular fella just like us. But to try to get a picture of the future, you always, I think, have to think of at least 6 trajectories. My newsletter is called Trajectories, plural, because anytime you think about the future and project one thing forward, you get an absolutely crazy and warped picture. Because the world is not made up of one thing that's changing and everything else standing still. The world is made up of numerous vectors, all of which are changing. Like the fellow in the 1890s who predicted that with the increase of he was only projecting population increase and assuming transportation wouldn't change. Now, instead of being covered with horse shit, the country is covered with pollution from the automobile fumes. We got a different problem. Bucky Fuller has pointed out that as we move from an agricultural to an industrial economy, or from an industrial to a post-industrial computer economy, the average size of the family decreases without anybody doing it, without anybody passing laws or doing agitprop like Planned Parenthood. Women apparently just decide on their own they're not going to have huge families. I suppose the husbands have some say in it, but it's basically the women who are deciding. Coming from an agricultural to an industrial and post-industrial world, women see more options for themselves than just bringing a new child into the world every year. And if you look at the United States in the 18th century, the average woman had about 10, 12, 15 children, or as many as she could have until she dropped dead of stress. And this happens in every industrial country. It's happening throughout. Could I finish what I'm saying, please? I don't mean to talk while you're interrupting, but I'm the one they're paying, and I think they want to hear me. You find this throughout the industrial world, and it's starting to show up in Asia. Even in Asia, the population is starting to level off instead of steadily increasing like the Malthusian said it would. Now it's your turn. Subliminal messages in the mass media. They're less and less subliminal. They're getting more and more liminal all the time, it seems to me. The way to find out what's going on, the kind of programming that's going on, is a game I invented a long time ago called Bavarian television. This is based on the old Bavarian fire drill. The Bavarian fire drill is when you come to a red light, you jump out of your car, run to the car behind you, bang on the hood and say, everybody out, Bavarian fire drill. And run to the car behind that and yell, everybody out, Bavarian fire drill. And after you got back to about the 10th car, you flip around and run back to the front again. And most of them are following you at this point. You get into your car, the light changes, and you drive off. Like having taught them a lesson in obedience and idiocy and how easily people are manipulated. I decided Bavarian television would be even more fun than a Bavarian fire drill. And Bavarian television is you turn the set on and you keep changing the dial continually. And you don't get white noise. You get bits of dialogue and flashes of image, and you begin to see what the main message is and what the main ideas are that they are pushing. And it's enough to make you hide under the bed for a couple of weeks, but when you come out, you decide that you're not going to turn that damn machine on except very carefully and selectively in the future, because the main messages that come across are that everything ultimately is solved by somebody shooting somebody else, and that you need drugs. You need more and more drugs. You need drugs to do your income tax. If you're a woman, you need drugs to do the housewife. You need drugs to deal with the children. You need drugs to deal with your boss. But you got to use the drugs they're selling on that channel. If you use any other drugs, your brain will turn into a fried egg. I've been involved in the media myself. I've been involved in the magazine business and in the newspaper business, and I have never been able to decide whether there is somebody way up on top who passes orders down, or whether there is just a tremendous collection of idiots in those businesses. I still have an open mind about whether there are invisible string pullers or there's just plain stupidity. But some issues just never get raised in the mass media. As, for instance, to get away from sociology to the merely trivial, Dan Quayle buying marijuana. That got out through the underground, what's the word I'm looking for? Through the less well-known radio stations. It popped up on 2 radio stations in L.A., and then I found out it popped up on WBAI in New York, and the word has gradually got out, but not through the mass media. There are some things that just never get into the mass media, and it's very hard to find out why not.